All right, so the very first workflow that we need to update would be the lead gen, or the lead contact form that triggers a phone call and then takes the transcript of that phone call and saves it into a Google Sheet. So let's go and grab that n8n workflow we created before. So we're gonna go in here and sign in to n8n. The workflow was call API. So we have this workflow called from a contact form workflow. So this contact form will be executed, and then this execution will call this particular workflow that is the production URL. As you can see, there is no test in here. So we're gonna make sure that this URL is running, which is the call API. So the call API URL is exactly this one, 3if. That's perfect. We're going to make sure that this is in the active mode so that this trigger can be called right away from the API call, from the form contact form workflow. And let's give it a quick try. I'm going to put email sire. Okay, so I'm going to submit. Anytime now, I should receive a phone call. I received a phone call.
Hey, email sayer. I'm Samantha, email's AI agent. Do you have a minute to talk?
Yes, we can talk. How can I help you?
I'm reviewing applications for email's n8n plus 5 coding bootcamp cohort, and I'd love to ask you a few quick questions to make sure it's a good fit for you. First, what's your main motivation for joining this cohort? What excites you about n8n or vibe coding?
So I would like to learn vibe coding, and I have like 20 hours per week to work on this particular technology.
That's great to hear. 20 hours a week is a fantastic commitment. What's one thing you'd love to build or automate during the month-long cohort?
Voice AI agent, a voice AI agent that automates contact forms.
That sounds.
So that should be enough information to get the transcript out. This is a quick check that it's now saving a record in here. So what I will do now is, meanwhile this is running, I'm going to take a download of this so that I can share this with you guys in the comment of this video. And what we will need to change is this call evaluate sub workflow, which is literally the evaluate, this one, evaluate lead workflow, which has access to these Google Sheets. And I will also take a download of this one so we can have both Google Sheets and Supabase integrations. So what we need to do now is both in both of these cases, we need to save the lead and two different tables. What could be those tables? Let's have a quick discussion on that on the whiteboard. So there is something called normalization, and Supabase has a database called Postgres, and we are going to create Postgres tables. In these Postgres tables, we are going to uniquely store information. So the first information that we want to store is a lead, and a lead can have multiple calls. So there will be calls. This will be related like this. So a single lead can have multiple calls. And a lead can also have emails, because a lead can be also communicated with an email, so it can also have multiple emails. Um, in an ideal world, we also have a lead can have multiple evaluations, and that is also stored here. If we refer back to the front end that we have been looking at, it's down, but let me quickly spin it off. So the UI already is mocking all of that information that we need to capture. So we can capture multiple calls. Every single phone call will capture all of that data. Every single email communication will capture all of that data. And evaluations. Each time we run an evaluation on this lead, for example, if we had an email communication separately, a WhatsApp communication separately, we can run evaluations separately, so that the evaluation of the LLM based on the data ingested in the system can be captured at the moment in time of the evaluation. What was that particular situation? All of these bugs, like this white thing and so on, that can be fixed at some other point in time. And also a lead can have multiple comments. So I'm going to also capture that in the database. So we can also have multiple comments for a single lead. So this is basically the so-called ERD, or entity relationship diagram, of our leads folder. Since we called it all plural, let's call this also leads. And then this could be leads, lead calls. And then this could be lead emails, lead evals, and then lead comments. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to create a so-called migration. What is a migration? Whenever we build Supabase tables, we can either create the table by ourselves in Supabase, or we can create it through code. And making it through code is a better choice. Before we move on to creating the migrations based on this table architecture, I'd like to give you a very quick overview of what is Supabase. So Supabase is a suite of multiple products. These products can be a database, authentication like sign up, sign in, storage like adding pictures, videos, and so on, and playing it back. Edge functions, this could be server-side code that's running on the server. Real-time features, something to do with building a chat interface. Something changes on the database, and then on the front-end side, it automatically shows. Vector database, something to do with embeddings, like if you want to store a lot of information that in a fuzzy way it can be searched. The concept called RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation, needs a vector database, and that is already as a module inside Supabase. And cron job is a scheduled way of running a code, like you want to run your code every first Saturday of the month at 10 a.m. Very specific use case that can be done with cron jobs. And queues, if you want to build a highly scalable application that can host millions of users. Imagine if millions of users have this kind of a use case where we saw that we have like millions of users, let's say, drag and dropping at the same time. So the table that is called leads, that stores the information of the column status, will receive millions of updates at the same time. and that won't work unless you have a so-called queue in place, and that queue is making your system scalable so that you can build something that can be scaled for millions of users, receiving that message of like, hey, I want to update my card from moving from column qualified to column appointment booked, regardless of the traffic. So if it's one person doing it or a million of people doing it, a queue will allow you to do that. So it's a great suite of tools for building web and mobile applications. Particularly, we will be focusing on building this web application in a pretty scalable way, and also build it in a way that we don't need to know programming, and yet build it in a way that's scalable. So that's pretty much for this video. In the next video, we are going to create our first migration that will create all these required tables through the Next.js code. See you in the next video.